From the shadowy forests of the Ozarks to the forgotten hollers tucked deep in the heart of Arkansas, the strange has always had a way of finding the quiet places. But these stories, they don't just live in the past. They echo, they linger, and sometimes they return louder than ever. This is the Supernatural Roundtable, a place for stories, for questions, and for those who walk the line between the known and the unknown. Tonight, your hosts are Craig and Richard, believers, chasers of truth, and men who've heard just enough to know there's more out there than meets the eye. They aren't here to convince you, just to share what's been seen, and maybe what's still watching from the tree line. So pull up a chair. The night's just getting started, and your seat's been waiting.
Today we're talking about the Fouke Monster and discussing kind of the cultural relevance that the Fouke Monster had to a lot of us, and also talking about the Legend of Boggy Creek, which really became a cult classic, first real docudrama that they've ever made that I'm aware of. And it really spawned that, and the events that happened in Fouke, Arkansas really spawned the events of Boggy Creek and the fame that behind it. So we're going to be diving into that tonight. Craig, do you want to go ahead and start us off?
Yeah, sure. Fouke is it's a very small town. It's located 11 miles south of Texarkana on U.S. Highway 71. The city is 6 miles from the fertile soil of the Sulphur River and 10 miles from the Red River. And Fouke was actually part of the Louisiana Purchase. A lot of people don't know that. It was actually part of it. In 1818, there was a actual trading post called the Sulphur Fork Factory, and it was made on the Sulphur River where it enters the Red River. And then by 1836, the towns of Rondo, Texarkana, Bright Star, and Fouke were established.
Yeah, and the town of Fouke was actually named after the man that owned the lumber mill there on the fork of Boggy Creek. Last name was also Fouke. I believe his first name was George. And I believe that was 1880, roughly. The area also has a long history of sightings. I mean, the Memphis Gazette actually had an article about a hairy wild man that lived in the swamps. And there's also the Cato Gazette that published a paper talking about wild men living in southern Arkansas. So the whole area does have a mythology about wild cryptids and hairy men that roam the swamp. So it's been in the legend, let's just say that.
It definitely has. I mean, you know, from 1851 plumb on up to some of the most recent ones. I guess the last recent one I got is 2023.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was going to throw this out there. There was, we keep calling it the Fouke Monster, but there's also several other names for it, such as Boggy Creek Monsters, the Swamp Stalker, Southern Sasquatch, and we talked about it the other day, Jonesville Monster,
Yeah.
and Arkansas Sasquatch, or some of the other names it's known for.
Yeah. As we said, the talk of wild man actually predates the founding of the town of Fouke itself. Some of the earliest encounters, I believe you said there was one in 1908, correct? Something along those lines?
Yeah, that's when it was initially called the Jonesville Monster.
I did a little more digging into that, and one of the figures behind the Legend of Boggy Creek, Smoky Crabtree. It was actually, from what I understand, I could be a little bit wrong, but his sister also seen the creature in 1908 when she was really young.
Wow.
So it's around that same time where they really started to see it more and take notice of it. It
Right.
it showed up multiple times. 1946, Miller County resident told Sheriff Leslie Greer about seeing a strange man-like animal moving in the fields near her rural home, walking upright like a man, but clearly not a man. A decade later, in 1955, a local boy reportedly encountered the shaggy, reddish-brown creature that sniffed the air and didn't even react when he shot birdshot at it. Just kind of ignored him. Yeah,
I bet you it was.
yeah. That
You
was
got
crazy.
you got to be awful close to do damage with birdshot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think at that point you're probably just going to piss it off either way.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And of course, 1971, that's the most famous Bigfoot encounters of them all.
Or at least the Fouke version of it, for sure.
Yeah, the Fouke version. You had the Ford family, Bobby and Elizabeth Ford. They moved into a house there. I think it wasn't right in Fouke. It was outside of Fouke, right?
Just a little bit up 71 going towards Texarkana. We actually passed by it when we went down to Fouke for the festival at
Right.
one time.
But that's the most notable one because of of course Bobby Ford. He had to go to the hospital because this thing actually grabbed him and he managed to get away and got cuts and scrapes going through a door. But he was in shock as well. But
Yeah, in his blind panic, he ran through a closed door trying to get away from it. And I'm kind of of the opinion that if it really, really wanted to have at him, he wouldn't have got away. But that was just one incident. And then inside the house, Elizabeth Ford had been asleep on the couch when she awoke to a hairy arm, apparently with claws, reach the window, and she glimpsed to see the creature's red eyes peering in. And of course, at that point, the men of the house started shooting at it when they stormed outside on the porch. Bobby Ford was actually later treated at the local hospital in Texarkana for shock and minor injuries. The frightened family actually moved pretty much the next day. They were gone.
and pretty much they kind of stayed out of the media too.
Yeah.
You can't find a whole lot on them.
No, they kept a low profile. And here's an interesting little tidbit. Texarkana Gazette reporter Jim Powell and radio news director Dave Hall drove to Fouke the next morning to investigate the story. They arrived to find the Ford family hastily loading a U-Haul trailer, literally fleeing the house in fear. Powell spoke with the shaken witnesses and examined the scene, noting unusual large tracks, which in the Boggy Case incident, they always seem to be three-toed tracks, or at least around this time.
Right.
He found broken saplings leading into the woods behind the house. When Powell sat down to write the article, he decided this mystery creature needed a name, and inspired by Elizabeth Ford's description of a hairy red-eyed beast, he dubbed it the Fouke Monster. The Texarkana Gazette ran Powell's report on May 3rd, 1971. The very next day, the story was picked up by the Associated Press and UPI news wires, spreading the Fouke Monster story in newspapers nationwide. What began as a rural Arkansas scare and had been a legend among the local townsfolk and people of the area was nationwide at that point. Pretty much cat's out of the bag.
Right, no doubt. And, of course, it attracted, all kinds of people coming around to try and hunt the thing.
Mm-hmm.
There was a bounty on it. A Little Rock radio station, KAAY, put a bounty out on it of $1,090.
Yeah, which back in the early 70s would have been a pretty decent sum of money.
Yeah, I wonder if this creature felt that the family was a kind of a threat. Well, I've got my other screen going over here. I'm kind of trying to look stuff up while we're talking, but it's saying that they were the Ford family was having encounters over several days.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, and what you were saying a while ago was that they shot at him, and I'm wondering if this creature felt their presence was a threat to their, you know, was basically a threat. You'll see a dog act one way with somebody else, and then they get this, they have a sense where they know somebody else is not a good person. I'm not saying that the Ford family were bad people. I'm not.
Right.
That's not what I'm trying to say, but because they had shot at this creature, the creature might have been like, "Well, they're not good people. We got to get them out."
Well, if I remember right, it lasted over, several days, and they shot at it, quite a few times, and not just on that initial night.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know the incident. Of course, as I said, we talked about it. It stirred nationwide attention, drew hunters in, like you said, to the point where the local sheriff Leslie Greer actually had to ban firearms for a short while because they were afraid people were going to get shot in the woods. Mistaken identity by jumpy hunters.
Yeah, no doubt.
In late May 1971, about 3 weeks after the Ford incident, three individuals driving back from Texarkana at night claimed they saw a hairy ape-like figure sprint across US 71 in front of their car. So Sheriff Greer, who personally knew the eyewitnesses, noted they were very reliable people, and he believed they genuinely saw something unknown. He didn't believe in the creature itself, but he believed the stories. He believed the people people he grew up around.
Sure,
Yeah. So of course, you can't go visit this house anymore. The house is no longer there. I believe when we went down there, they said it was burnt down in a fire or something like that.
Yeah, something happened. I can't recall what exactly happened.
Yeah, it was yeah, which is unfortunate. But we did kind of drive. I mean, in a way, drive by the spot, but we had no knowledge that we were driving by it.
Right. And of
So
course, we drove by, the spot where the one of the first footprints were found. But it's a ranch now. I believe it was, wasn't it? Yeah.
yeah,
It's sitting on a ranch now, and you can't get back there.
no, but we got it pointed out to us. Is in the soybean field of Willie E. Smith, who also owned the local gas station, which would ironically later become Monster Mart there in Fouke.
Right.
And also, it's pretty much a museum. I mean, it's a convenience store, yes, but it's almost like a museum piece to the Fouke monster as well at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. It became a cultural thing down there.
Yeah, it was also noted that curiously the creature avoided stepping on any of the plants, but it walked right in the dirt. So Willie E. Smith made a plaster cast of the strange tracks and sold souvenir copies. And he had them for a long time until I believe his gas station actually caught fire and he lost them in a fire. So that's why they redid the Monster Mart and all that. So
But this whole thing, when after the thing happened with the Ford family and all these hunters come out with dogs and stuff, and trying to get get on the trail of the creature, And they brought good dogs in, good hunting dogs. There was one documentary I seen where they had, dogs that were from Africa that could actually bay an eye.
Mm-hmm.
And these dogs would not even attempt to hunt. They knew what was out there.
Yeah, it's crazy. And of course, 1972, you had the local advertising executive turned filmmaker Charles B. Pierce made the Legend of Boggy Creek, which made the sensation even more famous. It was a film that was made, I believe, $160,000 is what it was made for. Ended up grossing $20 million domestically. That ain't counting DVD sales and all that stuff now.
Right.
But $20 million back in the 70s. And unfortunately, I don't believe he shared any of the proceeds with the townspeople. I think you
No,
even mentioned that, Sean.
I think if I remember right, he made promises that, oh, we're gonna make this movie, and you know, you're gonna make so much off this movie or whatever, and they didn't see hardly anything from it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to kind of jump back just a little bit. We're talking about, kind of the description of the Falk. Uh, when people, there's a lot of people that think of towns or whatever, you know, don't understand how really small Falk is.
Right.
And it's really, there's not a whole lot area to really live in down there. The population itself is only 880 people.
Well, I mean, if you wasn't paying attention, just driving on the highway,
you start right there and not know it.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
That 880 people are not in one little town. They're spread out.
Yeah, over like Jonesville, Jonesville is literally right butted up against Falk. It might as well be the same town.
Yeah.
And some other small little dotted communities here and there. And I believe around the Mercer Bayou itself, which is a big feature down there. So, yeah, they're not all congregated together.
Like one of their, they got a little diner down there, and if I remember right, it's been a few years ago since I've been down there. But like the diner looks basically almost like a mobile home.
Mm-hmm.
It's not big.
About the only thing that'll catch your attention is that Monster Mart, really, if you're paying attention.
No doubt about that.
Yeah, so it's kind of nuts. I mean, after that initial frenzy, it kind of died down. It always seems like it went in cycles. And we talked about that too, Craig, in the last episode, how your activity went in cycles. It was hard and heavy there for a year, and then it just died. Like it's gone.
And it's like this, I mean, if you look at, I'm sure a lot of reports wasn't, people didn't report a lot of it. But if you look at the reports, like, there's a big jump, from 1971 and 72 era, and then you jump plumb up, into the early 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And there don't seem, I couldn't really find anything, as far as, during the 80s, unless some people just didn't report it.
Well, I mean, I think at the time it was more of a stigma than, I mean, they've embraced it now wholeheartedly with the Fouke Monster Festival and all that. Right. And there's a point I even read on here that the sheriff, Leslie Greer, actually fined two men $52 for calling in fake monster reports.
Yeah, I read about that.
Yeah. So I think at the time, townspeople just wanted it to die down.
I hate to say it like this, but I think part of the reason why they didn't really embrace it really strongly at first was because of the movie and them getting burned over the movie. They're like, well, he done burned us on this. we're going to step back and not really talk about it now. Then
Right.
everybody started watching the movie, going, "Hey, we want to go down there and check this out." And they're like, "Hey, we might be able to do something with this. This is our claim to fame."
But with the sightings, as far as they're concerned, then there was another little jump. It wasn't hardly anything reported, and then in 1997, they had 40 sightings that were reported. It just kind of jumps around a little bit.
Yeah, it does. It's kind of crazy. And on that note of not much activity, we've talked about them maybe migrating before. 1978, footprints were found outside Russellville, Arkansas by two men prospecting of three-toed tracks. And then again in also, I believe, 78, 79, there was a sighting near Crosset. Woman seen one in, I believe it was broad daylight, and locals started blaming it for killing livestock and attacking dogs. And Crosset, I believe, is southeastern Arkansas, correct?
Yeah, I believe so.
It would almost make a triangle if I'm thinking about it right, because you have Fouke down here in the corner, Russellville way up here, then Crosset down on the other side, almost like a travel corridor. In a way, if it's the same creatures that they saw in Cross, it could have been a different creature altogether. So,
as far as at least from Fouke to Crosset, I mean it's a pretty good distance, but with a creature like that, it really wouldn't take that long for one to make that travel.
I mean, something that big doing what, 20, 30 miles a day? Yeah, I mean, that's if he's not really going. He'd probably make it pretty quick.
I think so. I mean, you got a creature that stands, 8, 9 feet tall, and the strides of him are, 5, 6 foot at least.
Yeah,
or better.
You seen that when that one crossed the road in front of you?
That was something. Yeah, I mean they can, just walking. The stride is so long.
Yeah.
From Fouke to Cross, it's 128 miles.
Wouldn't take it long at all.
No.
It'd take it longer to get to Russellville, but that's going up into the Ozarks and all that, and through the Ouachitas, which we'll touch on that stuff later.
Right.
It's really not that much further. Looking at it from Fouke to Russellville, it's only 225 miles.
Yeah, very doable for something this big that can move.
You got to think about that. That's just by highway.
Mm-hmm.
That's highway. That's not.
Yeah.
As the old timers would say, as the crow would fly, it's a lot shorter.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And something built like this would not have a whole lot of trouble over this kind of terrain. I mean, they look at the Pacific Northwest and the terrain out there, or the Rockies and all that, or Alaska. They move over that terrain like it's nothing. Yeah.
You're right.
I mean, ours is dense. I'll give it that. We got some dense, thick brush here, but some of that stuff out west that they do, that's crazy.
And I got to go Bigfooting up in the Olympic National Forest up there, and you talk about brushy.
Oh,
that's a brushy country up there.
I would imagine.
But sorry, I'm being kind of nappy today. I'm popping at maps.
You're good.
It's all right.
All right. Let's see. We talked about 97. There was a rash of 40 sightings reported to the police. 98, local man claimed to see it crossing a dry creek bed just a few miles south of Fouke. None of these reports made the same splash courses in the 71 Ford encounter, because that's one of those that goes up there with the Ape Canyon incident and all that, kind of things in the mythology of Bigfoot. which that's another video we might need to get into one of these days.
And then, of course, 2023, Denny Roberts, the owner of Monster Mart, had a sighting.
Really?
Yeah. And I think that was the last one I found reported was in 2023, and it was by him.
Yeah. They started the. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
He said it was, he, he, he thought it was a bear at first, but then he seen it wasn't moving like a bear. And of course, it was walking upright.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That always amazed me that a lot of people claim, well, you're just seeing a bear. You don't see a bear move like that.
A bear can walk on its hind legs for a short length of time, and their steps ain't very far apart.
I've seen it happen. I got to see my grandpa call one up, see it stand up and look at us. That was, of course, intimidating.
Yeah, but their stride is not that far.
No, they don't have the balance.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's just, crazy stuff like that. I was doing some more reports. We talked about, I found one that I thought was really interesting. This wasn't Smokey Crabtree. This is his son Leslie had an encounter. And I'm not sure if it's the birdshot incident or not, but he was out hunting and he was a teenager. I think this is before the Ford family incident. And it started chasing him. And he shot blindly over his shoulder at it as he's running away with a shotgun, which I can't blame the dude. I would too. Because your first, thought is to run like hell.
No doubt about it.
Ugh. The idea of that.
And there's strange ones, like this 1991 sighting, it was reported seen jumping from a bridge. It didn't specify what bridge.
Yeah, I would like to really know what bridge he jumped from. If it was the Boggy Creek Bridge, that wouldn't be that bad of a fall. I mean, we'd break our leg, but
and really all around there ain't very high bridges.
No. It's not like going over the Arkansas or the Mississippi, know. So it's just, I don't know, it's nuts. But anyway, like this, of course, now you also have the Fouke Monster Festival that really does keep the legend alive. And as we talked about when we were down there, and I guess we did go down in 2023 or so. They stopped us on the side of the road and talked about a bus driver and truck driver having one run in front of their vehicles at the same spot, and they both got out and they're like, "Did you see that?" Which is nuts.
Right.
Could you imagine you're just driving somewhere, trying to get somewhere, and this thing runs out in front of you between two vehicles? Ugh.
Right, exactly.
I'd probably pee myself.
You're not the only one.
What year was you at Fouke, Sean?
It wasn't that raging. I was down there in I think it was 2017 and 2018 when we were down there.
Well, if you want to, go ahead and share your story.
Well, I'll start with the first one. It's the year that the first year we went down there. We Crystal and I had a little Subaru Outback, and me in February when we were down there is a group of us, that we were doing kind of an expedition kind of deal down there, and being cold, we decided we're just going to put our blankets and stuff in the back of the car and set up, sleep in the back of the car and everything. Well, one of the guys had a parabolic mic set up and it was kind of aimed in the direction of where we were at. And we never heard it, but he picked it up on his mic. Something sniffing, kind of grunting around. And it wasn't the sound of a dog or a it didn't. You think of grunting, you think of wild hogs and stuff. It didn't sound like that. It sounded like something. You hear this. You watch these nature shows and you hear the sound of like the chimps making that grunting kind of sound.
Right.
It sounded
Kind of,
like
kind of a deeper sound.
yeah, and so that we didn't hear it, but it was coming from like almost outside our car.
Mm.
So he played it for us. And it just gave. It still gives me chills just thinking about it being that. I'm like, dude, that's scary. And
no doubt.
on that same trip, one of the guys that was there the night before we got down there. He has a little S10.
Sorry, my phone.
He he sleeps in the back of his S10 with on the air mattress. Guy's pushing 350. He's a big guy, and being cold outside, he had his blankets up over his head and everything, and he said he felt something reach under it. I've got crap attacking me now, but he reached up under whatever this was, reached up under his air mattress with one arm. This is one arm and a 350-pound dude, and picked him up. And the thing picked him up, guy turned, and it just dropped him and took off. But because he had his blankets over his head, he didn't get them off in time to see what it was. But I don't think I'd want to see what it was if he's picking me up with one arm.
No doubt about that.
Yeah, no kidding.
The following year we were down there, and there's these logging trails down there, and there's where a couple of them kind of intersected there, and the guy that I was talking about that got picked up the year before is me, Crystal, and him went down there, and where this intersection was, and we were standing there, and he had a infrared camera, and we were watching one on the infrared, and we could see him out there kind of watching. It's like we were watching him watch us, and I guess we're down there 30 minutes to an hour or so, and we were kind of talking to each other kind of quietly, and we couldn't hear the creature make any sound or anything. But
Did you happen to smell anything? Or do you?
I don't recall smelling anything at the time, but there was a kind of a weird feeling that I remember there being kind of a weird feeling while we were watching him. Well, we were down out there 30 minutes to an hour watching, and we like, well, we'll just go ahead and head back. And we went back to camp, and the next morning went back out there where we were, And of course, there wasn't nothing in the road, just or anything. And when we got back down there was tracks down there where he was. After we had left, he came. It looked like he came up and was checking out, trying to figure out what we were doing, you know. And I tried to show this yesterday, but got a pretty good size. If you can't tell by the size of my head here, it's a pretty good size print. I believe it's like 16 inches from top to bottom here, and from basically from the pinky toe to the big toe, it's like 9 inches.
Boy.
It's big.
So if he wanted to get after us, he could have done some damage to us.
No, yeah.
Well, having a foot that big, he was probably pretty nice size.
Yeah, yeah. It's hard to judge the height from that camera he had, but
Yeah.
that a similar situation happened. Well, I say similar. The night before, the guy that kind of puts on that expedition down there, he had done kind of the same thing we done the year before. But he leaned his front seat in his car back, and he's sleeping in the front seat of his car, and he had just little rocks, like little pebbles, tossed in his car. He had little pebbles picking off his car.
Mm-hmm.
No raccoon or squirrel or nothing's gonna be pegging.
No, definitely not.
No. That's classic Bigfoot behavior, though. Most of that right there.
Richard, don't you have a BFRO story, right?
Yeah, I do. I found a BFRO story. It's probably one of the creepiest ones I've seen in a long time. It's about a gentleman that was in early 2000s. He was out coon hunting. He was out with a buddy coon hunting. He had a good set of dogs. I believe they're walkers. And they were out, I believe it was January. And anyway, he's like, the other guy had gone to the other side of the swamp where his dogs had treed, and so he followed his dogs to where they had treed. He got the coon down and all that. And as he's making his way back, he hears walking in the water behind him. And so he immediately turns around and calls out, like, hey, thinking it's his buddy or someone else out there. And he said the unnerving part was he got no response back. And then he finally gets his light on this creature, which he described as I think it's 8 to 9 feet tall, covered from head to toe in real dark hair. He said with his coonbuster light hit his eyes, they glowed like a deer in the spotlight's back red. He said the hair on the back of my neck stood up, and the dogs were behind me whimpering, trying to get away from it. And these were trained hunting dogs. These were good hunting dogs. And then the creature started making hissing noises at him, which is weird. And then would cup its hands. The water's like 8 to 15 inches deep in some spots out there where he was. It would start cupping its hands and splashing water at him, trying to make him, I guess it's trying to shoo him out of the area. And so he finally retreated, but I believe I understand it, he no longer coon hunts.
Yeah. That kind of makes me think about when growing up and everything, like working cattle, trying to herd cattle and everything, trying to get them to go. You got to get them to move.
Yeah.
Right.
It's kind of the same thing as them trying to get us to, okay, you can go now.
Leave.
Right.
And one thing I always found interesting with the whole Fouke Monster thing anyway is the three-toed print. That's why I remember they sent the prints off to a scientist in the early 70s. He's like, these have got to be fake because they're three-toed and they don't match anything. But nowadays we have found 3 toad prints. We found 4 toad prints.
Right.
Stuff happens in the wild where they get an injury, they lose a toe, what have you. And we find these weird gimpy footprints occasionally. Not all the time, but we do find them. So it's possible the Fouke Monster had lost some toes somewhere along the way.
Yeah, you know, you talking about all these people shooting at these creatures. They don't know where they're hitting them at. And they're really tall anyway, but they could have shot and it could have hit them in the foot. You know?
Yeah.
You never know. And then, of course, you got stories of them fighting one another. Like two big alpha males fighting.
Get them in their ankle lock and bite a toe off.
Yeah. It's crazy. And, people have to understand Arkansas is not the most populated state anyway. Granted,
No.
where Fouke is butted almost up against Texas, Louisiana, but those parts of Texas and Louisiana are also not super populated. It would be pretty easy for something to cut across country, and like where I live at now, and the Ouachitas, here is one of the hot spots, especially like LaFork County in Oklahoma. Where the farm was located is the northern edges of the Ouachitas, where you had all your sightings.
Yes.
Yeah, it's all the Ouachitas, so, it's kind of nuts. They can go, and you look, the Ouachitas stretch from, midway across Arkansas, all the way, almost midway across Oklahoma.
Yes.
And
It
almost
goes a long way.
almost all the way down south to Fouke, if you really think about it.
From where the old farm was, I could take a dirt road and drive from there, which is in Logan County, Logan and Yell County, right there on the county line, and I could take it and drive all the way to Waldron and never hit a paved road. And that's a good. I really couldn't tell you how far it was from there.
30, 40 miles.
Well, I'd have to say it was a little more from there because of all the, all the turns and stuff through the mountains.
Yeah, I've driven it once. It's a long way.
Yes, it is.
You're in the middle of nowhere for every single bit of it until you get to Waldron.
And it's creepy too.
Every single bit of it. So I don't know. I think you don't see a lot of Bigfoot reports coming out of the Ouachitas though in our general area because there's not people. There's not a lot of people in the old farm area and all that in the Dry Creek wilderness.
I don't think people realize how it is out there, and you don't get too many of Bigfoot hunters or groups or anything going out that way.
Yeah. So it's just, I don't think there's any group that is actually involved with Bigfooting out in that general direction. So at least to my knowledge.
Well, there was a guy, I can't think of his last name. His first name is Ken. He's got YouTube videos, and he's actually filmed Bigfoot activity, and actually has a few that he kind of caught on video, and it's out there somewhere between Blue Ball and the Crossroads. I don't know where. He won't tell you where, but he said it's out there somewhere.
I bet we could find it. We know the area enough.
Well, the area that he shows in the video looks real familiar, but Dad said he just can't place it.
Yeah. Huh. It makes you wonder. So I don't know. I just know we are planning another trip up in the Ouachitas. As soon as we can, I'd like Sean to go if he's able. We'll do it on a day you're off. Get the group together, go, see what we can find. I just feel like the last 2 times, like y'all went, then y'all had stuff happen. Then,
Yes.
Of course, the time before that, we found that print in the mud that I showed last episode.
I think we're getting close.
Maybe. I mean, we're in a good spot either way. I like to think of it wherever bear live, you're going to find them too because they use virtually the same food sources.
Yeah.
So,
I know this ain't a Fouke story, but I wanted to share a story that I found while looking for information on the Fouke Bigfoot.
mm-hmm.
Okay, this was written by a woman, and she's talking about her father. Her father was a Washington County deputy sheriff in the 1960s and 70s. Uh, he grew up in Madison County and was a real hillbilly. But there was one Bigfoot story that stood out that happened in the spring of 1966. He had gotten a call to investigate a death of an old farmer. The man's body was found in the barn with crushing injuries to the chest, and the man's arms were ripped out of their sockets.
Jesus.
His legs may have been ripped off too. There was a pitchfork nearby with blood on it. Apparently, he had used it as defense to try and fend off the creature, and he stabbed it a few times. But many of the locals, they provided many close Bigfoot sightings of it, and there were families of Bigfoot in the area, apparently. The law enforcement agencies involved decided not to mention Bigfoot as the cause of death and blamed it on the bull that was in one of the pens, but yet the bull didn't have any marks or blood on him.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
That's brutal.
I sent y'all a picture of talking about sightings and stuff. I sent you a picture of where I grew up, the area where I grew up. There's a satellite image of it.
I'll have to look that up.
Pretty good too.
There's a big corridor that runs from Bologna all the way to Thurston. And it passes right back by where I grew up at.
Right.
And, right there, Craig, I know me and you talked about it, but that's where just where I heard that vocalization. It was a sound that went, ooh, like that, and it was just a vibration, just really loud. But that's my first experience really with the Bigfoot sound.
Right.
It shook you all over. But
Thank you.
I mean, it's just a whole corridor right there. Talking about the migrating. I mean, they can travel without being seen for miles.
Yeah, easily.
That's just about anywhere in Arkansas. You have all these corridors that travel for, hundreds of miles. Some of them, and they just have so many places to hide.
Yeah. Speaking of Washington County, when you were just talking about it, someone sent me a sound recording. I've got 2 sound recordings from, believe it's Washington County. I'm not going to give her name. She asked me not to. I'm currently still working on them. I've got a friend that does sound stuff. From what I've been able to pull apart on it, it almost matches up with the hertz and baritone sound in a way, or at least the hertz and the decibel level of the Ohio sounds. But I'm going to have see if this sound guy that I know, if he can just isolate the noise before I throw it into a podcast. But I'm sitting on 2 of them right now. There's actually, I'm thinking, a third vocalization on the really good one. It's very brief, almost like a bark, and then you hear the longer one. It's not as long as the Ohio howl. It's almost like it's mimicking a coyote. It's odd. It doesn't sound like a coyote. You've heard it, Craig. I mean, you've heard it too, Sean. So I don't know. I mean, my professional, or not so professional opinion, I don't know what it is. I know what I want it to be, but until I can get it pulled apart by someone that's more professional than me, I'm kind of on the fence. You know, I believe it is Bigfoot though.
Yeah, y'all, we got about 6 minutes left. Do we want to go ahead and close it out?
Yeah, we've started giving shout outs to people. I've actually got one, believe it or not. His name is Fred Roll. He runs the Subarctic Alaskan Sasquatch channel on YouTube, or I believe it's Bigfoot channel. Anyway, he does all the stories that he can get from Alaska, and they are hair raising. I mean, people think the stories down here can get nuts. They are darker and crazier up there in Alaska. And he's offered to come on the podcast. I just feel like I'm shortchanging him a little bit. I was like, let us get our stuff sorted first before we ever get on, into a podcast. I want to, I'm trying to get stuff sorted a little bit better before we do that. So that's my shout out.
Don, you want to give a shout out?
Of course, kind of sticking with the paranormal kind of stuff. Chris and I've got the paranormal adventures. That's what it's called. Sorry, I was blank for a minute. We do paranormal adventures, which last week the last one we did it over something.
It was sirens or something, wasn't it?
Banshees. We did it over Banshees. This coming week, or this next episode, we're gonna do sirens and the dinosaurs of Papua New Guinea.
That'll be a good one.
I just happened to watch an episode of Destination Truth the other day. One of the first episodes that they ever put out, and they were talking about them. I'm like, I want to talk about that.
Yeah, go for it, man. Go for it. Then you also, I'm giving you another shout out. You got your other new channel, Me, Myself, and Flint, where you talk about mental health and do some Bible verses and stuff like that too. People ought to go check that out for sure.
Try to help guys. It's focused. It's not necessarily just for guys, but it's focused mostly towards men's mental health.
Yeah.
Right. All right. Anybody got anything else?
I think we're good. I think we talked about the next episode we were wanting to cover is we're wanting to get into Dogman a little bit.
Right, and providing that, if we don't get out into the woods ourselves, it will be Dogman. But if we happen to get on one of our little expeditions, it will be about that.
Yes, for sure.
But before I forget, and Crystal gets mad at me, one last shout out: the Pink Lady Speaks Your Mind. It's Crystal's YouTube thing for women's mental health. So,
all righty.
I don't want to get mad at me.
There you go.
And if anybody, please like and share our podcast, and we need subscribers. Subscribe to us. Help us out. Thank you.
Also, if you have any stories to share, you can reach out to us at paranormalroundtable@gmail.com. If you have any stories or you want to talk to Sean, you got Paranormal Adventures 2 at gmail.com. Check out their show over there on Spotify and Podbean. So, I think that's it, fellas.
This is the Supernatural Roundtable, signing off for now. From haunted hollers to shadows in the pines, the strange is never too far from home. Until next time, keep your wits about you, and we'll meet again down the road.